Brian Melick is one of our unique musicians and treasures from the 518 area. His percussion skills, love of music, teaching abilities, and hugely positive attitude brings the best of the joy of music that can bring people together. Brian got his start as a child largely due to a musician uncle who convinced Brian's parents to get him a drum set at a very young age. It is difficult to pin one particular attribute to Melick. He is a percussionist, composer, percussion instrument creator, educator, and permanent student of sound and life. Whether one catches Brian playing hand drums for the McCrells or drum set for a private party, one thing you'll be taken with immediately is his enthusiasm and positive attitude he is bringing to the situation. To give an idea of some of the many projects Brian is or has been involved with, perhaps it is best to listen to his own words regarding some of the musical things he is up to. Rhythm and movement are represented in the world of percussion, and Brian has this to say about it. Since the time I was 13 years old, I have had the incredible opportunity to work with movement therapists, aerobic instructors, martial artists, dance choreographers, and dancers of all kinds: ballroom, tap, ballet, Irish, Scottish, Latin, African, flamenco, and modern. It continues to be an amazing experience and a profound inspiration for me to create rhythm, music, to support the art of another. There is simply no greater feeling for me than to see someone feeling my energy and spirit through my music and then feeling compelled to move. A beautiful way to connect with another. In another area, Brian has this to say: I was honored and privileged to be invited to present an intimate look into my world by Sarah Craig, Executive Director of Cafe Lena. I have been blessed to work with a great number of different artists over the last 3 decades here at the cafe, and Sarah told me many times she has heard our audience say that they would have really liked to learn more about the different instruments that I have performed on during the various concerts. She asked me to take center stage and present a program that would allow me to not only introduce a diverse group of percussion instruments by just performing on them, but to present them in a way for folks to learn about where they came from and their backstory. I was very excited to be able to engage the audience in more of an informant environment, as well as to take the time to be able to really perform on a wide variety of my instruments. Aside from wanting the listener to be inspired emotionally to my work, the most rewarding thing for me is to use my percussive sounds to create imagery to support the music I am performing and for the story that is being told. Brian has multiple projects going on at all times, and one of them of late is putting his music together with video, as we shall see. No matter which musical setting you may find Brian Melick playing in, you will be intrigued with his musicality and pure sense of joy in the act of making music. No matter what setting, it would be worth your time to catch Brian Melick live.
волшебные сны, юношный думает о них. Прочь уйти постылая страсть, рекой тоска разлилась, без берегов, как грусты. Мне забыть бы эти руки, безусловно сладкой муки и предчувствие разлуки. Мои упреки текут в моей душе.
Ed Melick, I want to thank you so much for sharing your time and music with Empire Radio Sounds. It's a real privilege and honor to have you here today. Could you give a little background on how you got started in playing music as a child?
Well, thank you first of all, Marcus, for having me. I'm honored, really. I my 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 world started. I think it's kind of embarrassing, actually. I think I'm really more of a cliche than not. When I was a little guy, probably around 4 or 5 years old, my parents put up with a little guy running around the house and banging on everything he could get his hands on. But my mother and father were incredibly supportive right from the jump. I mean, my
Oh,
dad
nice.
built me, whatever he thought would make a sound in his shop. He gave me actually some metal rods, which was probably, God bless him, but probably the worst thing. you know.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I was in my glory. But so probably from the time I was around 4 or 5 years old, I started banging on things. My sister actually was the one that bought me my first drum, which
Uh-huh.
I still have. It was a cardboard snare drum that my next door neighbor had in a garage sale for $5, and so she purchased that with her babysitting money or her allowance or something. And then probably around that same time, I my great uncle Earl, my dad's mother's brother, on his side, would come and visit with us, and he and his wife came down and spent about, I don't know, about 7 8 hours with us because it was dinner and the whole nine. And he actually interrupted the family conversation and said to my folks, either you buy this kid a set of drums or I'm going to buy him a set of drums. And the relationship there, I should tell you, I got ahead of myself a little bit. My great uncle Earl was a wonderful drummer here in the Capital District,
Oh, I
and
see.
and
Yeah.
actually, I have to tell you, I was going through a scrapbook here the other day. He's passed on a number of years ago, but my uncle, not only was he next to my dad, my greatest hero, he I am I have to tell you, he was a card carrying member of the Union here in Albany
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Schenectady Union until he died, and he was a resident of Florida for a good 10 years. So
Okay.
even though he was a resident of Florida, he was that dedicated to what his foundation was, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but because of that, he got to play with a lot of the jazz players that were coming through the town and so on. And
Sure.
that Albany and Schenectady was a very different animal. I mean, we still have a wonderful area. I don't mean to imply differently, but it's different. It's just different and different era, different everything. But anyway, he was really critical, and my folks going, really, you think? And mom and dad were not stupid people, but I think that like a lot of folks, I think that sometimes it's just maybe a passing thing.
Sure.
And
Sure.
my uncle made it very clear to them that the boy has not stopped playing for 6 hours. This is not a passing phase.
Yeah.
He's in his world right here.
Well,
And
this is very there's an irony here because my uncles who also played in this area for long time inadvertently got me interested in playing the saxophone. I probably was Leo Russo or somebody I'd heard. I was a
yeah.
5 year old kid, and the first time I heard a saxophone, it was like bingo. I got to do this somehow, some way. But so the synchronicity is kind of funny here. Okay, well, let me jump into the heavy questions here.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
I would like to start with a question, if I may, with the relationship that you have with music. I was checking out the many different videos of your percussion adventures on your website, and I have to say that the joy of making music comes across from your performance, no matter what the style, and when I see you play. What does making all these joyful percussion sounds mean to you as a person going through this pilgrimage of life? If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, that's a really wonderful question, and I have to say that I find peace in all of it. It's
Okay.
I find that the one thing that I feel very fortunate about is that I do have I don't know where it came from. I don't know where it came from, but I feel very sensitive to the people around me, the
Okay.
musicians, the people that may be listening, the people that are the technical staff, and And my headphones are going to probably die on me in a minute, but I can go right to the speaker here on the computer, but
Okay.
to hear you. But to continue to answer the question, I feel the peace in all of it, and I get lost in the moment. When I'm given the opportunity to create music, whether it be something that was well organized and maybe written even, or if it's an improvisational performance, or if it's just covering a cover tune that I love and know every little nuance of. It doesn't matter. The music has everything to do with the people that I'm working with, and it most certainly has everything to do with what I'm getting from the audience. And
Okay.
I think for me, it's a real piece, and it's a beautiful thing. It just is a beautiful thing for me when I can communicate as a drummer, percussionist, to work with dancers.
Uh-huh.
From the time I was a little guy, my career started when I was 13, and I got an opportunity to work in the Catskills a lot with
Sure.
Jim Stotts, who was my first boss, if you will. He used to come to the house and pick me up
Okay.
and bring me to the gig. Um, from that moment to today, anytime I get to work with dancers, whether I again have an organized event with them, or if it's something that I'm playing simply a dance song, standard, if you will, or a certain style of music, and to see that we have no verbal communication,
Yeah.
but we are 100% connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't even know the word, Marcus. I really don't even know how to
Uh,
express it.
I can appreciate that very much, especially when you're doing a type of gig where there's dance involved and people are dancing. It elevates the whole moment for sure. Um,
But even when you're in the moment and you have those kismet moments where you play a unison line with somebody, and it doesn't, for me, it doesn't mean that it has to be the other drummer. It could be the horn player, what I mean? And it just to me, those are those little special moments that you really know that everybody is listening and everybody is synced. And there's no greater thrill than that. And it's a funny thing when people respond that way, where they see the joy or they see the smiling, and I just told them, I said, it's not put on. This is my it's spiritual for me.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
truly is spiritual for me. And so call it what you want, church,
Sure.
communion, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a very spiritual thing for me,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to connecting with the folks on stage, as well as if there's dancers or
Sure.
whatever. But.
Well, I completely get that, and it seems obvious to me when I see you play, and a lot of
Oh,
musicians
thanks.
kind of fall in that kind of thinking. They might not verbalize it as well, but I think they do. Which brings me to my next question. Going through your website, I saw the words traditional to unconventional. From all I have heard, that sums up your musical reach. Could you maybe expound a little on the different styles or genres you take on and how they fall into this stretch of musical territory?
Well, I genuinely enjoy a challenge. I enjoy being in new, in unusual, and exciting situations. Um, I don't want to say for a minute that I don't like any particular kind of environment, whether it be like a more formalized environment, like I say a society group or something like weddings and so on, because I most certainly have done my thousands of weddings and banquets and stuff, and each one of them, again, given the right situation with the right people and the environment, I don't want to get on a soapbox and tout anything. I'm trying to carve out my living, and I'm grateful that I can do it with what I love to do. Nothing is below me. It's just that I found that I didn't care for the vibe of the environment. It really has that more to do with it. So to try to stay on task here, and to answer your question, I enjoy variety. I
Yeah.
enjoy the diversity of the world
Hmm.
that I get to travel in, and I think that um, when I say that nothing is below me, of course I do enjoy getting invited into those more social environments, like a private party or a corporate event or something like that. But because I had such a wonderful opportunity in my life to garner a strong and solid foundation from those kinds of environments. As I
Uh-huh.
got older, um, I know this may sound a little pretentious, and I don't mean it to, but um, I wanted to be the guy that created the part. I didn't want to just cover somebody else's part. That
Sure.
doesn't mean that I think that if that's your focus in life, you're somewhat below me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I lived that. I wrote the charts for
Sure.
the for who later becomes a friend of mine, Jerry Marotta. I wrote his part out for the Peter Gabriel tunes that I would do. I
Mhm.
and it was great to do that. But I wanted to be the guy that created the part. I wanted to be the guy pushing the
Sure.
rock a little bit and trying to expand on things and stuff. So I hope that doesn't come off being pretentious. It's just,
No, no, it was kind of a long question. I also am guilty of too many words, probably. But
yeah, but I
I
mean,
think you're an artist that this is really a question that's relevant because looking at the broad amount of it was hard for me almost to cut out a few pieces of us out of your
hmm,
broad territory that you do cover. Which brings me to my next question, actually. I recently played one of Warden and Company's songs on
oh,
my
wonderful,
Song of the Week
wonderful.
segment for Empire Radio Sounds. I do a
Well,
weekly
thank you.
Song of the Week. And I would like to ask you about some of the ongoing work you're doing with Warden and Company, Seth Warden. This one featured Lavella on violin, by the way. But what is that group focused on, and what is your role in it?
Well, thank you very much. That really means a great deal, especially
It's a beautiful
Lavelle.
song.
Oh, thank you. And that song, if you don't mind me saying, Lavella is the stage name for Seth Warden's daughter,
Okay.
who's got a beautiful, beautiful voice and very inspired in her life. And it was so nice that we were able to have her come in and join us on that song. It's the title track of our new recording called Somewhere.
Yeah.
It was a song that Seth wrote. He comes from a small town on the Thousand Islands,
Okay.
and I'm going to get it wrong, so I'll just say in that region. Sorry, Seth. But actually, our foundation came when Seth was working a bit with Kevin McCrell, who I have worked with for some 30 plus years. And
Okay.
at that time, Doug Moody was doing a lot of work with Kevin as well. And Seth came in and did some dates with us, actually at least a year or so, I think.
Mhm.
Um, and in that time, he and his wife were blessed with three beautiful little children,
Okay.
of various ages, but little. And so he was listening to a lot of what we all see, when we have little children.
Mhm.
Um, the Teletubbies, Barney, all of that. And he
Yeah.
was he kind of had his issues with a lot of that, and he mentioned it to his wife, and his brilliant, beautiful wife Tanika said, "Well, then write your own," and so
I
obviously he
like it.
looks at his subject as the beautiful kids, and he was totally inspired. And he's a wonderful songwriter and a great storyteller and a
Uh-huh.
beautiful musician. And so anyway, he came in and said to Doug and I, "Hey, I've been writing some children's music. Are you in?" I said, "I'm in if the music is good. We have enough of that in the world. I
Yeah.
really don't want to be a part of that." And he said, "No." He said, "That's the reason why I'm doing this." And so for several years, before Seth got his master's and became a full-time teacher, he's
Uh-huh.
a general music teacher now in the Cohoes school district in the middle
Okay.
school. Um, this is what we were doing. We were focusing on family and children music. And so we put a few different recordings out in support of that. And then as his children grew, as his career path changed, in regard to his educational career path, with teaching schools and stuff, then a lot of the other kinds of music started to filter through, as would be the case, I
Yeah.
think would be the general, progression. And so the music really became more in, not to say that he's abandoned the music and the family for music for family and children, but
Right.
he really, I just, just through the storylines, what happens in the world, how his kids
Yeah.
are affected, and it just has migrated, and I think the evolution has been just beautiful. He put out a lullaby CD with Doug, which was another layer,
Hmm.
after the thing that we did. And then and then we did something that was really kind of the crossroads, with some family children's music, some adult music. So it kind of had this natural progression. And the last EP that we did, and then actually, ironically, that we're talking about this tomorrow is our CD release concert that we're doing at the Park Theater up in Glens Falls for Somewhere.
Nice.
And this is a full length recording. And so my role in it is mainly you'll hear probably more what people would regard as conventional drums.
Yeah.
I did some percussion. There's one piece where I'm literally approaching the drum set like more like congas. There's, to me, Trilak Gurtu and Alex Acuna both said it brilliantly. And when people try to differentiate, well, you're a drummer or you're a percussionist, it's all the same. It's one day one second I may be playing with my hands or my fingers. The next time I may be playing with my sticks or brushes or something. But there's never a separation. It's just one thing. It's just how you approach it or what you're inspired to do or what kind of flavors are you looking to pull out of the instruments, that you're playing. And so with this particular recording, and if you were to see us out tomorrow or anytime, you'll see me more behind what people would associate as a drum set. Now, I just have to say, Marcus, it's kind of a humorous thing with me, and I don't mean to be, so, but I, for years, have played a cajon, which is a South American instrument, originally from Peru, and then it migrated to Spain. And that's when the cajon changed from being more Afrocentric as far as sounding like a conga or a djembe to having those snare sounds, those raspy sounds. And that happened with the flamenco music,
Sure.
But interestingly enough, when I sit on this cajon and I'm playing it, whether it be my hands or or bundle brushes or whatever, in my mind, I'm sitting behind a drum set. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. I think
Whatever
it has
works,
and when I have had the pleasure of talking about this with interested parties as far as wanting to learn technique or playing music sort of more in an educational environment, or if I'm talking to somebody that has been kind enough to come up and make some comments or whatever, to me it's all attitude. It's what you know what I mean? It's like, when I'm sitting in front of a conga, if I'm listening to your music and I'm feeling a backbeat like a drummer would play,
sure,
that's what I'm going to play. It just,
right.
It may not appear that way, but hopefully you feel it that way.
Right,
right. And so my whole career has been sort of built on that. And so there's no surprise that would be my approach with Warden and Company. And I think that what I love about what's happening with the three of us as a core, and then we have a lot of different people over the time, including this recording, that have joined us on this. What I love about it is it's got the edge. I mean, Seth comes from he's just a little bit younger than I am. So some of the heavier hitting stuff for that era was his influences.
Sure.
So although I may not know the music of Tool or any number of other groups.
Right.
I'm not saying it's been done before because it's all new. It's wonderfully fresh. But the thing is that you listen to it, you grab the attitude of the player, and then you know kind of where you need to go and what you need to bring to it. And so I love that. I really love that. I mean, he's bringing out a side of me that I haven't released in many, many years. So I'm playing these, I just had a drum set made for me from a gentleman out in California that made me one for my little studio. And it's got more toms, and I had the bass drum and the floor tom retroed so I can use it in different ways and so on. But it's really a lot of fun. You know what I mean? It's just brought another whole level of cool, I think, for me. It's like, exploring different sounds again and so on in that capacity. You know what I mean?
Let me switch modes here. I'm in a different mode. How about Augustus Mancini's Journey to the Inner City? My question here is perhaps you can tell us a little bit about it and how you go about adding percussion to that sort of music, which is really quite different.
Well, Gus is boy, what a treasure that man is. He just celebrated, I think, his 80th birthday here last year.
Wow.
And as I am, as I am, I feel that any musician would say the same thing, and that's we are blessed to do what we do,
Uh-huh.
and we
Yeah,
are
I
even
agree.
more honored when we get asked to do something for somebody that has created something very special, and that piece is a piece that Gus created, and it's a 12-part tone poem, and
Okay,
it goes through utilizing some backing tracks that he created because of course he couldn't play all those parts,
certainly.
but there's lots of moments where he said to me, I need you to be the connection between
Yeah,
these two parts.
interesting.
So it goes through all of these different types of emotional things,
Uh-huh.
but as I know from what Gus told me, the whole premise was meditation. It was
Okay.
finding your place in all of these different types of influences and inspirations that he had that created all of these different parts.
Okay.
And that, pardon me, that piece we performed uh, to open up a new meditation stage out in Woodstock, New York.
Okay.
And it's a beautiful stage. It's a completely open stage where there's no wings, there's no side, there's no backs. So when the audience is sitting there and you're looking up at the stage, your back is the woods that you're in. You know, it's
Hmm.
gorgeous. Really was really gorgeous. And so how I approached that was I did have the opportunity to listen to the music, and I think for me, what happened right away, again, like I was just saying about even when Seth comes in with a new song or he plays a little idea that he may have or a riff or something, I think what happens to me is that I listen to the feeling, right? I
Yeah.
listen to the attitude. I listen to um, the texture of the instruments. Gus is
Uh-huh.
also he also like yourself, Marcus. He also plays all the saxophones. He
Right.
plays the a wind synth. He also plays you know forgive my ignorance here, but he also plays keys, but not piano so much, but more synths.
Synthesizers. Yeah.
So so I love that. I really love that. I always got lost in when I hear drones and
Yeah.
and different waveforms and things like
Hmm.
that. So if I to try to answer the question, you know,
No,
clearly.
I think you've done a good job here with
Oh, okay.
answering that question. You really have. And anybody who takes the time to listen to that music, it'll all come together for them.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time out. I mean, I know it's a little bit
So
of a longer piece, but it's really hopefully, this is all we can overhelp for, right? That we leave people or we give people an opportunity. In that particular case, it's one of those opportunities where you hope that they click play and they don't even have to pay attention to what we're doing. Just close your eyes and just take the
yeah,
journey with us. You know what I mean?
right. And I think that's the right word, journey. Um, Brian, now I'm seeing here, I'm gonna edit this part out. We got about 7 minutes left. So this is what I'd like to do. I'm gonna ask you one more question, answer
Okay.
that one,
Hmm.
and let's pick this up again, because I got about four more questions and I want to do the
Sure.
whole thing. So why don't you send me a text of what is a good time?
Okay.
It won't be tomorrow, but maybe the next day or the day after.
Yeah, Friday. If Friday is available to you,
It is
uh,
actually.
I have a school program. I have a school program with I believe it's with Ellen Sinopoli, up in Gloversville, and I should be
Okay.
home. So I should be home like 12:30 ish or so like that. So
Maybe one
anytime,
o'clock or
it's,
something.
yeah, I was gonna say anytime after 1 o'clock would be great.
All right, I'm going to send you a link for Friday. Let me get this last question though. So now this part that we just had is going to be edited out. So here we go.
Okay.
Brian, I've seen some of the wonderful combination video work with your music that you have been created. Now, of course, we know there was a time when they said video killed the radio, yet I suspect not exactly. What are your thoughts on video in conjunction with music?
Well, I think it's a wonderful tool. I'm really an amateur at it. I think it became a necessary hobby.
Yeah.
When I say that, I think it's, I have a website, as a lot of us do. Early on, I was told by a lot of marketing people that would peek in on it. Some of them were people that I actually I was working with at the time, and I didn't have enough video, and they were saying, people are responding to video more than not. To celebrate my 60th birthday this
Uh-huh.
year, instead of re-releasing, say, all of the recordings I've ever done under my own name, what I decided to do is do something I hadn't done up to that point, and that's pick a variety of the songs that I think show a nice cross section of my work.
Yeah.
And then what I did is I went online and I got involved with a couple of wonderful sources, where you could get nice video clips and photos and things.
Oh,
You pay for
nice.
them, of course, but it's not going to break the bank. It's
Yeah.
artists. It's like artists like me that are independent, that are interested in having other artists be inspired by their work, and
Okay.
you pay them, pardon me, what you feel they're worth, or what maybe what they're offering their goods for or something. But it's
Mhm.
not like $100 a little clip, which is something I could never afford. But the point is I think that, um, I think it's a wonderful, I do. I think it's a tremendous medium. And I felt that way. I was compelled to to step my game up. A
Sure.
lot of the videos I was doing was what I could afford. And I had all these little sort of GoPro-ish, but not Go. I didn't have GoPro money, but I found another source where I could
Yeah.
get really good quality that was at 1080p. Now I stepped my game up. I have both a Sony camera as well as these DJI action cameras. These, I think they're called Osmo cameras. They
Uh-huh.
don't even make them anymore, but they're so good that all the head, yeah, no kidding. I mean, all the lead photography companies like B&H and all of these different companies, they take them and they refurbish them because they're such good quality cameras.
Yeah.
They give me two different options in 4K alone, either 30 or 60, and
Yeah.
you can shoot in cinematography. I mean, it's amazing what these cameras are capable of doing. And I did all of that, including buying a new camera or a new computer and even a large monitor, uh, because I believe in it. I do believe in it. I think it's good. I don't think you have to go buy. I mean, this is after 10 years of having stuff. You know what I mean?
Certainly.
So
Yeah.
I'm still not a pro, but it makes me feel like I'm able to up my game as far as best a quality as I can present
Well,
my stuff at.
and the world has changed. People are more visual, and you still want to play music, of course, but
I don't Marcus, not to interrupt, and forgive me, but I don't think I don't think that video is hurting music. I don't, I don't, I tell you why. I'm a subscriber to XM radio. I'm a
uh-huh.
subscriber to XM radio because I want to hear music. What I love
Right.
about XM radio, and also having my own radio, regular radio, is that if I want to tune into talk radio, that's what I want to hear. I don't want to
Sure.
hear anything else. I want to hear or listen to the story or the topic that's being talked about. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
When I think about music, I'm always listening to music. I'm always checking out things that are around.
Certainly.
I Believe me, I remember MySpace. I loved MySpace because I bought more original music when MySpace was the thing.
Sure.
I'm a bit frustrated that the big camps got involved in it and kind of made it impossible for us little people to have a voice anymore. It's like, that's just my opinion, but I don't mean to be negative here. I'm just saying that I think it's wonderful when we have these vehicles for people to be able to tap into and
Yeah.
hear about all the amazing things that otherwise we would never hear about,
I completely agree. It's democracy when it really works. Great, I
Yeah,
guess, is one way
but
of putting it.
I do really like the idea of mixing the
Yeah.
mediums, the video, and some people are doing amazing
Oh, yeah.
things.
No,
But
I agree.
But you know, I started, I just quickly say, I started presenting a concert series a number of years ago, and I'm looking forward to getting back to that, because it was no greater thrill than to be able to introduce people and be able
Yeah.
to sing their accolades, because, you know, I mean, it's important, right? But what I did is I always wanted to have my, at least the things that I was presenting, I always wanted them to be as diverse to the community as possible. And there's a
Certainly.
lot of people that they weren't available. Maybe they didn't have the extra money. Maybe they didn't have the means to even get to the concert. So this whole video thing for me just became, it became just get the content. It
Bigger
doesn't have to
audience,
be
actually.
stellar, but at
Yeah.
least, you know, give it back to the community. You know what I mean? Make it
Yeah.
possible, you know? And that's how I got involved in it. And I think that it's really a wonderful tool. I
Yeah.
mean, now we're all carrying, I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You got a phone,
Right.
you got the best video camera possible, you know?
Well, I completely agree. Brian, I'm down to less than a minute, so they're going to cut me off here. But I'm
Okay.
going to send you a 1 o'clock Friday afternoon link, and we're going to pick up, okay?
Great. Thanks so much,
All
Marcus.
right.
This has
Thank
been a
you, brother.
pleasure.
All
Take
right.
care. Be
Likewise.
safe. Bye bye now.
Bye. Bye.